You want to be UFC champion? Move to Dagestan for 2 to 3 years. That's what Belal Muhammad said. And by the way, I've heard other guys say that. Daniel Cormier said something similar to that. Khabib has told people, come do that. Well, who Daniel said about Pereira? He said Pereira is such a good athlete. If he went to Dagestan for 2 years, he could win the Olympic gold medal in wrestling. There is absolutely zero literalness to that statement. But Daniel said it to try to prove the point about Pereira. And now you have Belal Muhammad saying, if I could do my whole career again, if I could start over from scratch, knowing what I know now, and I think about that all the time too. I love that game. What I would have done, I would have gone to Dagestan for 2 to 3 years. All right. Well, if anyone has earned the right to an opinion, it's the world champion, Belal Muhammad, who went and spent time in Dagestan. Like, he has earned the right to this opinion. I just want to look at it a little bit closer. Because there were some other greats that had this same mindset from the sport I came from, which is wrestling. And is it true? I sure don't think so. But I will just tell you, in the world of wrestling, the Russians were winning all the medals, and therefore, because they won more world and Olympic medals, they were then better. And because they were better, we were inferior, and we needed to learn from them. I mean, right? It seems like simple logic. Well, it's not simple logic. It's a simple logic to a simple pin, which is what the sport of wrestling attracts. The sport of wrestling, right? You put up 10 heads together and you formed a rock pile. I mean, that mere mentality that because they have more medals, they must be better. And then you go learn from them. Or you hire their coaches and you bring them over. You learn from them. Pretty soon you don't learn a goddamn thing. They're showing you at the senior level, at the highest and Olympic level, the same thing your club showed you at the YMCA when you were 9 years old. They say on drag, they say it a little different. You're gonna pummel to underhook. Things you learned on your first day, either 2-on-1, either Russian tie. Things you learned on your first day. Things that your pops, if he had a little bit of wrestling, probably showed you in the living room. We got wrench into lift. Yeah, that's the same stuff we do here in America. There's nothing about the Russian system of wrestling that is even slightly ahead of American. And there never has been. Well, gee, Chael, they win more world and Olympic medals, so you're simply wrong. Well, they don't have an NFL, and they don't have an NHL, and they don't have baseball, and they don't have an NCAA. So the best athletes in their entire country go in to their national sport, which happens to be wrestling. They don't have a single move, strategy, technique, or preparation better than we do. They got better DNA. And I only bring that when Belal brings that up. Like, I very much am impressed with the boys in Dagestan. Sure I am, but you ever line them up and have them take their shirt off? They don't look like some dude that you went to class with, just for example. They don't look like your neighbor. Probably don't look a lot like you. Now, Belal Muhammad was blessed with that same DNA, right? You can see the tone, but I'm just sharing. When you think about the fight team from Dagestan, as great as they do, how would they be better than us? How? In wrestling, it was always argued because they had done it before. They started before us. They have a system. I had to hear the word system. If you ever hear somebody in wrestling talking about system, just thank them for their time and be on your way. DNA. That's it. Our NCAA All-Americans go into freestyle. If our NCAA Americans went into Greco, we'd have the medals in Greco. The same as we have in freestyle. The greatest feeder program out there is the NCAA. And the last thing you're going to get a freestyle coach to admit is that. But it's true. Now, I only share with you, when you look at the boys from Dagestan, how would they be better? The sport originally started in Brazil. There's no actual proof of that. Then you get the guys in Japan that claim that they started the sport. But there's no actual proof. There's not like videos or anything like that. But this is what they claim. This is the way the story goes. But first time they set up that octagon was some Brazilians that did it in North America. I believe they were in Mobile, Alabama. Could have that wrong. In 1993. So, no, Dagestan doesn't have a jump on us. Absolutely they do not. In fact, Dagestan doesn't even have a tremendous lineage. Their lineage dates back to the beginning of the career of Khabib. Now, this is impressive stuff, but to make believe that a small region of the world who started a sport 15 years ago that was founded by Brazilians in North America in 1993, to make believe that they have a system that's more advanced than ours, I would just ask you, how did they get it? How did they get it? Who started it? Okay, great. Great. You probably have your answer. Where did that guy get it? What did that guy do? The guy that you're claiming started it all. What did he do? Where did he get the system that you're saying in 15 short years has surpassed everything else in the world? And pretty soon you realize, no, it's just a group of guys. And they're really consistent. They're really good at being motivated. They're really good at coming in today, right? The most important thing that a coach can ever do with a kid, ever, is make sure he comes back tomorrow. The best coaches in the world will not have a technique. They will not have a pep talk. They will not have a system. The best coaches in the world will get you to come back tomorrow. That's it. They're motivators. And when you look at the guys in Dagestan, they have a real reason to be attracted to the sport. There's a very respected thing in Dagestan. Just for example, I was in the WEC, many would say champion. And I remember getting my hair cut, and the WEC days weren't that long ago. And I just remember the gal asking me, "What do you do?" And it was the last time I ever tried to answer that question. I'm trying to explain to her WEC, and it's like the UFC, and it's actually a sport called MMA. And now I've thrown out 3 different acronyms that are completely confusing. So she says, "Oh, so it's boxing." And I tried to correct it. And she goes, "Oh, so it's wrestling. I've seen that on Monday nights." And we just never got there. And this was the 100th time that I had this conversation. I just remember in that moment going, moving forward, I'm not going to say I'm in MMA. And I didn't. For years. I fought for the world championship on pay-per-view and did not tell people, because they just didn't know me. It was just a different time, right? It all had to catch up. So I take that time to tell you that story because I have been told my whole life as a wrestler how great the Russian system is. But we can hire those Russian coaches and we can bring them to America, and believe me, we did, and our medal count didn't go up. The best coaches in the world who in Russia trained world and Olympic champions, we bought them, we paid them, we moved them, we got them visas, we worked with the government, we housed them, we had them start an entire crew, and they did a very good job. But we as Americans, our medal count did not go up. Why? If it's technique and training and it's a system, and we have the guy that achieved it, how does our medal count not go? Well, because it all comes back to what I told you, DNA. You have the right guys or you don't. And in Dagestan, it's very respected. And I remember in my lifetime where I wouldn't tell my beautician, I wouldn't tell, 1 mile from, I'm pointing out here because her shop's right through this wall over here. I wouldn't tell her what I did because they didn't know. And when they did find out, they didn't respect it. It wasn't an interesting thing. And it's not what attracts our best athletes. Our best athletes go into, for a point, now this isn't true now. Dana's largely changed this, and there's attention, and there's a completely different perception of it, and there's a completely different reward system, but it didn't used to be. And I appreciate the boys from Dagestan, make no mistake. But do they really know something that you don't? Does pushing a guy up against the fence before you trip the same leg every single time to take him to the ground, I mean, is that something that you need to go to the Caucasus region to learn? I don't think that you really believe that. Do they know anything? Has anything ever come from the roots of Sambo that's worth a damn? You answer that however you want. But you're going to have a real hard time being honest and saying, yeah, there's a reason that Sambo's never won Abu Dhabi. There's a reason that Craig Jones does not sign Sambo guys. I'm just being real with you. Judo's never won Abu Dhabi, and Craig Jones does not sign judo guys. Sambo will not compete for Teshi over on Fight Pass. Judo guys will not compete for Teshi over on Fight Pass. Say whatever you want about the lineage of those sports, it's not true. But if you bring in the right athlete, you could show him nothing more than judo and sambo. If you bring in the right athlete with the right DNA, there's your championship.